as Amita said, I'm the founder of SHARAN, and SHARAN stands for Sanctuary for Health and Reconnection to Animals and Nature. And I'll explain to you a little bit why it's called that during the course of my talk. In 1981, I became a doctor, and I became a doctor because I wanted to reduce suffering. At that time, I was vegetarian, and I thought that milk was the very best thing you could do for health. Coca-Cola wasn't available in India, and every time people would go on flights, they would ask for Coke because it was so rare, and I would ask for milk because I thought it was healthy. But soon after I became a doctor, I understood the realities of milk. I found out that in order for us to consume milk, a cow has to be artificially inseminated when she's just 2 years old, that her baby is taken away from her so that all the milk can be sold in the market. And I made the connection that when I was young, my grandmother used to serve a delicacy which was made with colostrum, which means the very first milk of the cow, which means the baby had not got its mother's milk even once. And it shocked me. And that's when I started my journey to the health journey that I have today. So I stopped consuming milk. And at that time, like many of you, I thought milk is the healthiest food for human beings. But as I started looking at the whole picture, I understood that there's a lot more to this. You know, we all know that every mammal produces milk only for its young, and none of us are calves. So what are we doing consuming cow's milk? And why do we do it? And then when I started asking myself these questions, I found that the highest incidence of osteoporosis was in those countries with the maximum consumption of milk. But as doctors, we advise people who have osteoporosis to have more milk. And many of you may be knowing someone with osteoporosis, and you may know that despite having more milk and milk products, and despite having calcium, they never get well. And I knew this because I was a doctor, I had been practicing, and when it all struck me, more questions came. So I want to say today that I may not be giving you all the answers. 1 hour is very short, or 45 minutes is very short, but what I hope to do is open your mind to the questions. Why do we have milk? One of the reasons is that for vegetarians at least, it's considered a source of protein. Now, think about it. How many of you know somebody with protein deficiency? Hands up. Can I have the hands up straight?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So a few people. And you may or may not be right, because protein deficiency only occurs in starvation. It does not occur without starvation. So sometimes we know people who are malnutrition, who have malnutrition or starvation, and they may have it, but none of us do. And yet we have mothers who add soy to the wheat atta so that we will get more protein. Now, as a doctor, I know that today we are facing diseases of protein excess, not protein deficiency. Osteoporosis is a disease of protein excess. Protein, does anyone know what protein is good for? Why do we need protein? Muscle building is one of the myths, but actually what is it? For growth. Who said that? Lovely. Protein is the food for growth and repair. And because, bodybuilders say, have more protein, we think it's for muscle building. But think about it. Protein is the food for growth. And today we're facing a big epidemic of cancer, and cancer is a growth. If you want to make more of this connection, there's a beautiful book called The China Study, which actually makes the connection between protein, the excess protein we eat today, and cancer. Other diseases caused by excess protein are kidney failure. Especially, kidneys are very sensitive to animal protein, and we are seeing more and more diseases, more and more kidney failure cases today. That was one of the reasons that prompted me to have this seminar, which I'm having tomorrow, for children's health. Because mothers always want to give the very best they can to their children. And sometimes we just don't know what the best food could be. So today I'm seeing people of 25 years having kidney failure, going for dialysis. When I became a doctor, this was absolutely rare. But now it's becoming not uncommon. So think about proteins. When we think we need more proteins, we should ask ourselves certain questions. Where does a horse get its proteins from? Horse is a muscular animal. And what about the elephant and the deer? And if they can get it there, can't we? What are we doing drinking another animal's milk to get our protein? And if not that, eggs, meat, we're coming to that. Just all I want to do right now is have you ask the question to yourself, why are we running after protein? Now, if I were to say milk is not good, you would ask me, where will we get the calcium? Right? And we already covered that a little bit because I told you that osteoporosis is more common in people who have high protein or high dairy diets. But why is it that we are running after this, and can we understand a little bit more about osteoporosis? Osteoporosis is about bones. And a good way to understand what is the condition of your bones is to look at your teeth. Open your mouth, look in the mirror, look at your teeth. And if your teeth are perfect, the chances are your bones will be too. But if your teeth are not, bones are likely to be not perfect too. Now, one thing about bones is that they heal. Because we know that when someone gets a fracture, all we have to do is put the parts of the bone together so that they do not move against each other, and the body always works to heal. Now, if bones can heal, and most of us know that teeth are bones, what do we do when we get a cavity? This is just a question.
Go to a dentist.
Go to a dentist. And what does the dentist do? Drill, make it bigger, and then fill. Now, isn't it interesting that if fractures can heal, if bones can heal, big bones can heal, and teeth can't, could it be true? So, I was teaching my patients how to close their cavities as well. And just to give you a hint, to get you thinking more, how do we solve any problem that we have? Could anyone tell me? Shout it out. Go to the root of it. Understand the cause and remove it. And, if we understand the cause of cavities and remove them, cavities must heal because teeth are only bones. But often what we do for cavities is brush. Most of us brush our teeth every day. And instinctually, no animal brushes its teeth and nor do children. Mothers run around children with a toothbrush to make them brush their teeth. And why? God alone knows, because it doesn't solve the cavity problem. In fact, it's quite interesting that when many of us brush our teeth, we put in our mouth something that if we knew the ingredients of it, we would probably never put it in our mouth. Right? Would you ever put the individual ingredients of toothpaste in your mouth? Isn't it surprising that we've all been taught to do such weird things that anyway don't help us get better? And whenever I say that, well, milk, should we really drink it? Then in India people say, Krishna ke zamane mein bhi doodh peete the. Like, if Krishna had milk, why can't we? And Krishna was a cowherd and had maybe hundreds or thousands of cows. How much milk would someone have to steal if he had hundreds or thousands of cows? Why was Krishna stealing milk or milk products? These are all questions that if you start thinking, the answers will come. And if you don't have the answers and you're interested, we can answer them in the end. But what is really important is to start asking the questions. Because you know what? I believe all the answers are within us. We know the answers, but we don't know the questions. So I believe that food is the cause but can be the cure of diseases. And I actually help people reverse diseases like diabetes. Now let's have a look at diabetes. How many of you know somebody with diabetes? A lot more hands than protein, right? Deficiency.
Hyderabad is diabetic capital.
Hyderabad is diabetic capital. India is the diabetic country of the world. 35% of our adult population has diabetes. When I became a doctor, it was only 5. 5 to 35 in just this many years. Now, whenever someone has diabetes, they go to the doctor and the doctor tells them, what does the doctor tell them? Diet. What is that diet? And exercise. But what kind of diet does the doctor say? Cut out the sugar and cut down the carbohydrates. And does anyone get well from that? Isn't it amazing that we all go to the doctor with the same disease, knowing well that nobody got well from that, right? And why do we do it? Because there's some comfort in doing what everybody does, don't you think? But why does diabetes not get cured by cutting out sugar and carbohydrates? Because the cause of diabetes is not sugar and carbohydrates. The result of diabetes is high blood sugar. The cause of diabetes is insulin resistance or lack of insulin. Would you agree with me? Now, if we want to stop diabetes, we have to understand what is the cause of insulin resistance. Why did the pancreas stop producing insulin? And if we come to that and remove the cause, diabetes gone. And that's all I do in the reversing diabetes seminars. And I'm going to share with you some of that today, whatever I can. And the same is true for heart disease and hypertension. Actually, heart disease is caused by fat in the bloodstream, which makes the blood thicker, causes injuries on the artery wall, causes a lining of cholesterol, narrows the arteries, we get heart disease. And often for heart disease, we go for a bypass surgery. But if one artery is spoiled, do you think the other arteries will be far behind? No. And therefore, one bypass, second bypass, third bypass. And nowadays in India, we consider this as a status symbol. How many bypasses we had, right? Now, many of us are on diets, and we think that we can lose weight by counting calories. And we have charts, and we have a weighing scale. And isn't it interesting that no animal in nature is overweight, and they have none of that? And many of them have access to plenty of food. So why is it that only we, right? Because if we understand the cause, then the result will be that everyone is normal and no obesity epidemic. So the unfortunate thing, you might think, what is this car doing here? And this car is there because we often look after our cars better than our bodies. Right? Would you ever put the wrong fuel in a car? But don't we put the wrong fuel in our bodies every day? Isn't it like amazing that, you can replace the car, but you can't replace your body. This is the only model you get. And yet, we put anything in our bodies. Now, just to go a little further from this milk topic, I grew up as a vegetarian, and so I was having dairy. That was the only animal product. But you might know that vegetarianism is not more healthy than non-veg. Everyone in India knows that, because vegetarians and non-vegetarians get the same disease. Wouldn't you agree? Diabetes and heart disease and cancer. It happens to everyone. And the reason is that milk and meat have exactly the same properties: high protein, high fat, and no fiber. So, if a non-vegetarian goes out for dinner, what do they order? Chicken, usually, right? And if a vegetarian goes out for dinner, what will they order? Paneer. Same story. Everyone gets the same disease then in the end. Now, for those of you who are non-vegetarian, we have all been taught, even vegetarians believe this, that our canines prove that we're omnivores, right? But let's have a look at the teeth of a carnivore, a real carnivore. And then let's have a look at the teeth of herbivores. And now if we have a look at the teeth of true omnivores, then it becomes very clear that we are not omnivores, we don't have canines, and we don't have the ability to tear our prey apart and eat it, right? And every animal eats according to instinct. Like a cow knows what to eat because of instinct, nobody tells. And a lion knows what to eat because of instinct. And lions never make a mistake, and cows never make a mistake, but we do, right? And I don't think it's because we're less intelligent than cows or lions. It's just because we do have the same instinct as them, but somebody is feeding us information so that we lose that instinct. So just for a moment, I'm going to put you in touch with your instinct. May I ask everyone, if you have your mobile phones on, just to shut them off, to respect everyone else. Huh? So, animals eat by instinct, and let's just for a moment understand our instincts. How many of you have been to a farm or an orchard and seen fruits and vegetables hanging there? It's uncommon these days in cities, unfortunately. So if you haven't been, you have to imagine. Imagine that you're on a farm or an orchard and all these fruits and vegetables are hanging there. What do you feel like doing? This is instinct. But if you see a chicken walk by, what do you feel like doing? Right? Nothing. Only if it's cooked and served on a platter the way you have learned to eat it, would you be interested? But if you see a chicken on the road, but if you were a dog, you would chase the chicken and you would do nothing here. Don't you agree? That means we have been born with instincts, we still have our instincts, but we are not looking at our instincts. And milk is the same, because every child's first instinct when it's given cow's milk is no and poo. And mothers, even though they know that sugar is unhealthy, will add sugar or cocoa or something to the milk and force it down the child's throat because of intellect. And children, as we grow, we believe that milk is good, otherwise why would our mothers have done this to us? Right? And so we do it to our children too. But, you know, manufacturers are very intelligent. They go also by instinct. If you go to buy soaps or shampoos, do they ever smell of chicken? Always fruits and flowers, because these are instinctual. Right? So milk is the food that every mammal produces only for its young. And if it is about elephants or kittens, we all know this. But sometimes with cows we forget. Where do we get all these ideas about dairy? It's not from doctors, because doctors don't learn this in medical school. They get the information from the same place that you get it, which is parents and grandparents and society and books, media, advertisements. I want to show you an advertisement, and I just want you to watch what happens in advertisement.
पियो ग्लास फुल दूध 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 है वंडरफुल पी सकते हैं रोज ग्लास फुल दूध 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 गर्मी में डालो दूध में आइस दूध बन गया वेरी नाइस पियो डेली वंस और ट्वाइस मिल जाएगा टेस्टी सरप्राइज दूध ड्रिंक वंडरफुल दूध पियो ग्लास फुल दूध है मस्त इन एवरी सीजन पियो दूध फॉर हेल्दी रीजन रहोगे फिट एंड फाइन जियोगे पास 99 You have a milk and drink a more good now got to have a दूध चारों ओर मच गया शोर Give me more wonderful दूध पियो ग्लास फुल दूध
Isn't that interesting? That was a long ad. It cost a lot. And there was no brand name on it. That means something, right? Now, who is paying for these ads? And why do they pay so much to brainwash us? It's the dairy industry. And if they don't keep us informed that we need to consume milk, we might forget. It's not in our instincts. Right? So they have to, I often tell my patients and participants that if you want to know what to eat and what not to eat, make a list of everything that's advertised and don't eat that. Because nobody is going to spend good money brainwashing us about things that are in our instincts. Have you ever seen advertisements for carrots and cucumbers or oranges and apples? Right? So it is pretty simple, but it's kind of hard too, because once we are conditioned to live and eat in a certain way, it's easier to take better care of our car than ourselves. Right? And when a lie is repeated often enough, it takes in our mind the form of truth. And if I say milk is not healthy, there will be many here who will get up and question me. Right? So, that's why I'm saying I'm just bringing out the questions, not the answers, because all the answers are now all over. You just have to open your computer and do a few searches and you will find the answers. But only if you know the question, right? So, just to understand a little bit more about milk, or can we really live without milk, the whole of Southeast Asia never used milk. There's no milk in Japanese food, Chinese food, Thai food, Malaysian food, Burmese food, Sri Lankan food. They never used milk. And they still had life. They were still alive. Now, if we really want to know how to get healthy, we have to look at what was their history and what is our history. Excuse me. Countries that consume more animal products have more heart disease and more hypertension and more other diseases than countries who don't. Also, if you look at all of the people in Southeast Asia, they were slim and petite. Just 2 years ago, I went to Chengdu in China and walked into a clothes shop, and they looked at me and said, "We don't have any clothes for you." And that's because the Chinese are more petite. Now, imagine I'm not that obese, and yet, because we have been consuming milk, we're taller and wider than the rest. So today, many of the foods that we eat are not even real foods. And I would like to show you a video of a woman who carries around with her a burger that's 4 years old and fries with it. Now, this is just for you to see, but we can imagine that a lot of the foods that are packaged and sold in the market that have long shelf lives, will they be good for our shelf life? Probably not. Real food decomposes and these don't. Now let's keep our fingers crossed for the rain. So I want to show you this. Now this is what we eat. It doesn't break down at all. What will it do if we put it in our bodies? Won't our body have to work very hard to break it down, if at all it ever breaks down? And what will be the effect of this on us? Did you enjoy watching that? No. Okay. I want to show you the trailer of a film called Hungry for Change. And it's just a trailer. It's to get us thinking about things. And it's about people who have transformed their lives through food. And the very first person is Chris Carr. And you can actually go to the internet and look up these people and look at their websites and see the huge transformation in their lives. Chris Carr was very young when she first got cancer. And she has reversed her cancer just through food. No?
They are made to look better and smell better.
Oh, wow.
It's not fault. You're programmed to put on fat whenever there.
Okay, I'm just going to start this.
Dear Diary, today I feel very sad and I want to eat everything.
The problem is that we are not eating food anymore. We are eating food like products. And they are adorned. They are made to look better and smell better so that people are attracted to them.
It's not your fault. You're programmed to put on fat whenever there is food available. But now there's a lot of food available, but it's the wrong kind.
Sugar is in everything. In America, we're eating about 22 teaspoons of sugar a day.
Even the milk hasn't escaped. So, let me just show you. One kid, just for 5 years of elementary school, sugar, just from milk.
You might as well be rolling up the kid's sleeve and putting in heroin, because it's the same.
The marketing essentially lies to you because it presents you with the promise you're going to be sexy and popular and cool, but in reality, you're going to be obese and miserable and sick.
Nothing else does it in your brain quite like a Diet Cola. And that's because there's a deadly combination there of aspartame and caffeine.
I think most people believe the FDA actually has their own scientists that do this analysis, but then nothing could be further from the truth. If I was in the food industry, what am I looking to do? I want to sell you more food. They're into just selling a mind.
You can lose weight on a diet, but it's a little bit like borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. I mean, you can get 10 pounds off your body through sheer force, but you're going to have to pay back with interest.
People know this, so why are highly intelligent people not stopping? Because they don't know the nature of the trap.
The whole dieting paradigm is flawed.
I was 31 when I realized I don't know how to take care of myself, and I am sick. So I had to go back and learn all the things that I wish I had known as a child.
I tried everything. I did witch doctors, I did mud baths, acupuncture, I did the lot. The one thing which I was really afraid to face up to was changing what I put into my mouth.
I've never heard of a raw food restaurant. Raw food, how do you cook raw food? I thought vegan was a planet.
I was over 400 pounds, and I had very bad sleep apnea. I was borderline type 2 diabetic.
Cleansing and detoxification will make you lose weight, will make your eyes white, will make your skin glow.
If somebody's got beautiful skin, it invites us to a deeper understanding about what's going on inside their body.
What we're talking about is a real diet in the sense of what a species eats. When we get onto our real diet, we don't have to think about these things anymore.
What do you think the body's going to do? It's not going to reject this at all. It's going to look and say, now I'm on board. Now you're good to me, let me shine for you.
That means if we start eating what our species was supposed to eat, disease becomes a rarity. That woman got cancer at the age of 31 and now she's cured with no medicine at all. Chris Carr is her name. But today we have sugar in everything. 1 can of Coke has 10 spoons of sugar, and children love to eat out because they put sugar in ketchup and pizzas and hamburgers and everything. And especially drinks. If you look at the amount of sugar in all these drinks, you can see it right here. So what's running the world today? Why is this happening? Why are they allowed to do this? You know, today the only thing that's important is how much money. And I took this photograph on a local train in Mumbai. But what's important is that they are selling packages for interventions. Packages should only be for holidays, right? And we're all in the same paradigm because we're all in the business of making money. And what is this doing to our society? The food we eat not only affects our health, it causes climate change, it causes starvation. We're just going to talk about these things. It causes stress. Today so many people are stressed. It causes depression and psychological problems. It causes commercialization because, you know, people are willing to buy and people want to sell. It causes loss of diversity, etc. So let's have a look at these things. Climate change in food. The UN and FAO wrote a report, I think it was in 2009, called Livestock's Long Shadow. You can still find it on the internet, that states that animal agriculture produces 18% of all greenhouse gases. That's more than all the trains, planes and cars combined. The World Watch Institute 2 years later said that the figure was closer to 51%. 51% of climate change could be reversed if we stopped using animals for food. Water. 500 biodiversity in the same process because the other animals have no place to be, and much of our grain is going to feed animals, which means we have another whole population which is starving because there's no food to feed them. And today we have an energy problem, and they say that if the world's petroleum would last for only 13 years if everyone were to eat animals, but 260 years if everyone ate a plant-based diet. Now that's hard to believe, but just imagine what amount of energy goes into getting us milk. All the energy to grow the grain, then the energy to carry this grain to the animals, then the animals are fed, and the energy to milk the cows. Nowadays they use milk machines everywhere, and then to transport that milk to the dairy, homogenize, pasteurize, fill it into plastic bags which are also made from petroleum, and then refrigerated, refrigeration again energy, and sent to the shops and so on. And compare that to an apple or a carrot. It's a lot of energy, right? And all this is causing starvation today. They say 1 billion humans could be saved from starvation if Americans ate only 10% less meat. Imagine what the world would be if we all stopped eating animal products. Today, at any given point, there are at least 20 billion livestock alive on the planet that are going to be made into food. That's not all the other animals, and definitely not the sea animals, just the land animals. Every year, 70 billion land animals are killed for 7 billion population of human beings. That's a lot, right? And all of them have been fed, all of them need water, all of them need space, and all of them pollute our environment. Just to understand the greenhouse gases from animals, all you need to do is go to a poultry where they're raising chicken, and you will see that you can't even stand there. There's so much ammonia. Your eyes will start watering, your lungs will start bursting, and that's what we're doing to our planet. Now, how does the food we eat affect stress? Can I take 5 minutes more? How does the food we eat affect stress? You know, when we're stressed, our adrenaline levels rise. When animals are stressed, their adrenaline levels rise. And animals who are going for slaughter and are watching their brothers and sisters get slaughtered one by one, they are extremely stressed. A mother cow whose baby is taken away from her cries for days, is extremely stressed. And this adrenaline comes back to us through the food that we eat. So the animals that we eat, I just want to show you a very short video on factory farming.
The unbridled quest for economic efficiency has led here, to filthy, overcrowded, industrialized farms that threaten our health, pollute our environment, and subject billions of animals to intolerable cruelty. Each is a sentient being, endowed with awareness and feeling. To agribusiness, they are mere commodities, raw materials on an assembly line. Their suffering is immense, unrelenting, and largely hidden.
I want to tell you a little bit about chickens, and the reason I've chosen chickens is because I don't have time to tell you everything, and chickens are the most abused animal on the planet. And these are egg-laying chickens who are separated at birth, males from females, because the males will never lay eggs. And the males are just sent into a place where they're ground up and fed back to their sisters. The females, on the other hand, this is their introduction to the world. The females, on the other hand, are going to be in cages, and they would get frustrated and peck at each other, and so their beaks and their toenails are chopped off. This is a very painful process because it's the most sensitive part of their body. But because they are kept 5 to 8 in a cage, and they are made to lay 250 eggs a year instead of their normal 25 to 30, these processes are done to them. Many chicks die because too much of their beak is cut off and they can't even feed anymore. Now you can just imagine the stress that these birds go through if they have to lay 250 eggs a year, and you can understand why we are suffering from stress as well when we consume these products. Now I often ask people, do you know which is the sickest animal on the planet? And they often reply, humans. But it's not humans. It's the broiler chicken. The broiler chicken is made to grow to full size in just 42 days, in just 6 weeks. Normally a chicken grows to full size in 12 weeks, but they are pumped with things to make them grow to full size in just 6 weeks, half the time, and even then they're so breast heavy that they can't even carry their own weight. If you were to rescue one of those chickens in the cages that you see outside and take it to your backyard, this chicken will die just by walking of a heart attack. This is the sickest animal dying of a heart attack at the age of 6 weeks. Now imagine what will happen to us if we eat it. So, we are what we eat, and the feelings of the animals are transmitted to us, their insecurity, their forsakenness, their hopelessness and despair, and their fear. And from a young age, we have grown up seeing this cruelty. In fact, we are desensitized because we go to zoos and circuses and see animals that have been tortured to perform for us, or who have been taken away from their environment and put in cages just so that we can get entertained by them. Our culture desensitizes us so that we can assimilate the message of profits over principles. Yet, given a chance, we aren't like that. We are compassionate beings. We would rather see compassion, and this just needs a little unlearning. For example, animals too are compassionate. This monkey rescued this puppy and brought it up, and this was in the times of India. But all children love animals. That's why children's books are full of animals, and children can even put their hands into a dog's mouth without fearing. It's the mother who says, "Chee," and whatever else, you know. But children are totally connected. I want to share with you a beautiful film that shows that animals have emotions just like we do. I just request you to read the subtitles. So we can, every animal is the same. And if you've lived with animals, you know that a dog is not different from a pig or a chicken or a lion or a cow. So we also have the choice to align our food choices with our true values, which are values of compassion. So with our food choices, we can become healthy. Okay, become healthy, avert climate change, save water, reduce starvation, save biodiversity, save the forest, and align with our true values, which are compassion and